generations have really become a big talking point around our culture, and I came up with this theory about them and kind of how they work. So I wanted to talk over that, share it, see what you think. Um, just like generations themselves, this is all just subjective. Generations are just a cultural concept that we made up, of course. So what I'm about to say is also just, not able to be proven, but based on the general consensus of what generations are and what people think about them, here's what I came up with. So let's start back with the silent generation, 1928 to 1945. Give or take a couple of years on each end of that. Generally seen as a respectful generation with good work ethic. Not too much really talked about them anymore as they are kind of phasing out of the world. Again, 1928, that's almost 100 years ago. So the start of that is well in the past. So not too many of them left. And then baby boomers, of course, there's still a lot of these people left, generally seen as kind of out of touch with reality. They seem to have it the easy way via the economy growing so much over the span of their lifetime. People usually say, oh, they bought their homes and properties for so cheap and now they're worth like 10x in value. That's kind of what we see. Talked about them a lot. And then Generation X from 1965 to 1980, generally seen as kind of like strict with their parenting styles. And then when they were growing up, they were kind of like the kids and the teenagers that grew up while the culture in the United States was growing and kind of solidifying itself and growing a name to itself. So that's where they come in here. And then after them is the millennials, 1981 to 1996. Just like the baby boomer generation, not a lot of positive things said about them. Personality traits consist of self-centeredness, entitlement behavior. They're seen as like materialistic people and kind of just lazy overall. Don't really go out much. Not very good parents. That's kind of what is spoken about them a lot. After them came Generation Z, 1997 to 2012. Known a lot for their creativity, probably related to the technology boom that happened during those years. They had to learn as kids all these new technologies coming up, which boosted creativity, learning how things work, how to use them and manipulate them, which kind of developed a strong work ethic in them. Now, I'm a Generation Z myself, and I can say that that's mostly true. It kind of seems like there's a 50-50 split between like kind of on the lazy side and like a strong work ethic side. So that's kind of split in my opinion there. And then we have Generation Alpha, which is 2013 to 2025. So present year or 2024, more so than 25. These ones are known as the iPad kids. I'm sure you've all heard that term. Just disrespectful towards their parents, throwing tantrums, just misbehaving in public. We have seen a lot of those comments and videos online of kids from that era behaving that way. And then, so with all that said, my theory is, if you noticed, how it kind of alternates, right? So Silent Generation, Generation X, and Generation Z have a lot of positive characteristics associated with them. And then Boomers, Millennials, and Alpha have negative characteristics associated with them. So we can assume that Generation Beta, the next one starting in this year, 2025, to speculation of 2039, is going to have positive characteristics attributed to them. Now, one thing I predict would be kind of adaptability as we continue to see technology shift. They're going to have to adapt to that. I'm also kind of noticing a shift away from advanced technology. That's another video talking point that I can do. So they're going to have to adapt with different technology and cultural related shifts that come with all that. Now, the big theory here that I have is that the reason why these generations alternate between positive and negative attributions is that they raise each other, right? Well, Generation Z was raised by Generation X, which was raised by the silent generation, right? And then Generation Alpha was raised by millennials who were raised by baby boomers. So, of course, if you have negative attributed people raising kids, those kids are going to grow up with those negative attributes themselves, and the cycle continues between good, generally regarded as good characteristic generations raising the generation after the one that succeeded them, so skipping a step, right? Because if they were to raise the next generation, that wouldn't really make sense since these are on blocks of about 15 years. So it goes every other generation raises that generation, if that makes sense. So it alternates. So that's why there's good ones and bad ones every other generation, because every other generation raises those. So that's why I think Generation Beta is going to be generally accepted as a good one. Again, this is all just kind of speculation talk, things that I hear in conversation and on the internet and stuff. Is it really fair and true to judge a person based on what generation they come from? No, each person is their own person, and we can't judge them based on that. But just an interesting thought and theory that I had and wanted to share. So that is it. Thanks. Let me know what you think.